During our meeting on October 25, Valeriy Nikolaevich, commander of the Center Group of Forces, reported that the armed forces of Ukraine had been surrounded in the Krasnoarmeysk-Dmitrov agglomeration. Valeriy Nikolaevich, did I understand the Chief of the General Staff correctly that the city of Krasnoarmeysk is in our hands? Yes.
In addition, the General Staff's plan continues with the retaliatory mass strikes on Ukraine's military-industrial facilities and energy infrastructure supporting them. Comrade Supreme Commander-in-Chief, the units and formations of the Joint Group of Forces will continue active offensive actions to fully liberate Donbas.
On December 1st, the Ukrainian military denied that it had lost control of the frontline village of Klynove in Donetsk, rejecting Moscow's claim that Russian forces had captured the settlement. Kyiv's denial came just hours after Russia asserted that its troops had taken Klynove on the same day, prompting Ukraine's commanders to label the announcement as another piece of battlefield propaganda. The Ukrainian statement was issued as Russia also claimed to have taken the city of Pokrovsk, often described as the gateway to Donetsk because of its strategic position. Pokrovsk had been a major logistics hub for Ukraine, serving as a key node for moving troops, ammunition, and supplies to defend the remaining, unoccupied parts of Donetsk region. On December 1st, the Russian government released footage that it said showed its soldiers operating inside Pokrovsk, including scenes of troops moving through streets and raising a Russian flag. Regarding Klynove, the Ukrainian military said, quote, "The Russian Defense Ministry has once again spread another fake about the alleged advance and liberation of settlements in the Donetsk region, in particular Klynove. Such informational insertions are part of the regular Russian propaganda practice that has been going on since the beginning of the full-scale invasion. The statement about the alleged capture of Klynove is not true. According to the logic of the Russian statement, their units should have advanced, capturing the settlement of Viral Lubivka along the way, which in reality is not the case. The information about the massive losses of Ukrainian armored vehicles is also not true. The Russian side launches such reports on a daily basis and traditionally submits them without any evidence. The situation in the direction remains under the control of the defense forces. There is no confirmed breakthrough deep into the Ukrainian defense in the indicated areas. The Ukrainian defense forces continue to fulfill their tasks, inflicting losses on the enemy in manpower and equipment. The informational victories that the Russian Defense Ministry announces on paper every day have nothing to do with the real situation on the front, unquote. At the same time, independent monitoring suggested that Russia had captured about 505 square kilometers of Ukrainian territory in November 2025, a sharp increase compared with earlier months. According to figures cited by the Kyiv Independent, Russian territorial gains in November were roughly 90% larger than in previous months, underlining the intensity of the recent offensive. This large loss of ground for Kyiv was highlighted by the open-source mapping project Deep State, which tracks changes in the front line using satellite imagery and field reports. On November 30th, President Vladimir Putin was briefed by his senior commanders on Russia's latest battlefield gains, with specific mention of the claimed capture of Pokrovsk. Russia's army chief told Putin that operations were now focused on fully seizing the remaining parts of Donbas, saying that efforts were underway to push deeper and consolidate control over the region.
Comrade Supreme Commander-in-Chief, in accordance with the concept of the special military operation, the troops of the Joint Group of Forces are advancing on a wide front. The command of the Armed Forces of Ukraine continues its attempts to deblock its encircled groupings on the Kupiansk and Krasnoarmeysk directions and seeks to halt our advances on the Krasnoliman, Severodonetsk, Dnipropetrovsk, and Zaporozhye directions. The Northern Group of Forces today completed the liberation of the city of Volchansk. Furthermore, in establishing a security zone in the border regions of the Sumy and Kharkov regions of Ukraine, an additional 3 localities came under our control in November. These are Sinelnikovo, Tsigilno, and Dvyrichansko. The units and troops of the Western Group of Forces have focused their main efforts on the Krasnoliman direction and the left bank of the Oskol River to defeat the encircled grouping after the capture of Kupiansk. They continue to tighten the ring to eliminate the encircled grouping, numbering approximately 15 battalions.
Last time, you mentioned, and I asked then, on the left bank of the Oskol River, can the enemy not escape south along the bank?
No, he cannot, because south of this encircled enemy grouping, there is dense defense by the 1st Tank Army along the entire left bank. The defense is some 17 kilometers southward. An offensive is also developing on the Rubtsovsk and Krasnoarmeysk directions of the Western Group. The assault units of the Western Group of forces have entered Krasnolyman and are currently fighting in the southeastern and eastern parts of the city. Street fighting continues in Drobyshevo and Yurovaya. This is in the Krasnolyman direction. The Southern Group of forces advances in the northern part of the Donetsk People's Republic. In the Seversk direction, active combat operations have liberated the localities of Zvanovka, Vashukovka, and Petrovsko. In Seversk itself, assault units of the Third Army are engaged in street battles and are expanding control zones in the northeast and southern areas of the city, liberating over 100 buildings daily. In the Kramatorsk-Druzhkovka direction, the Southern Group, the localities of Ivanopol have been liberated, and street battles continue in Konstantinovka. The southeastern and eastern parts of the city of Konstantinovka have come under our control, encompassing more than 30% of the total number of buildings in Konstantinovka. The Center Group liberated the city of Krasnoarmeysk and continues to eliminate enemy units in Dmitrov. Additionally, part of the grouping's forces is successfully advancing into the Dnipropetrovsk region. The Eastern Group of forces continues to advance at a fast pace in the western direction, expanding the control zone in the Dnipropetrovsk and Zaporozhye regions. The Dnieper Group of forces troops are advancing in the Zaporozhye direction, having encircled the locality of Stepnogorsk. Fighting is ongoing to seize Primorsk. In addition, the General Staff's plan continues with the retaliatory mass strikes on Ukraine's military-industrial facilities and energy infrastructure supporting them. Comrade Supreme Commander-in-Chief, the units and formations of the Joint Group of Forces will continue active offensive actions to fully liberate Donbas. The report is over.
In general, we observe that the Joint Group forces are increasing pressure along the entire front line. In recent days, control has indeed been established over several major settlements, which are of significant importance for further actions to liberate the entire territory, including those still under enemy control. During our meeting on October 25th, Valery Nikolaevich, commander of the Center Group of Forces, reported that the armed forces of Ukraine have been surrounded in the Krasnoarmeysk-Dmitrov agglomeration. Valery Nikolaevich, did I understand the Chief of the General Staff correctly that the city of Krasnoarmeysk is in our hands?
Yes,